Well, welcome back. It's now 2.5 days after the final coat of epoxy went on, that third coat of epoxy anyway. Okay, and here's what I've got. I've got this main piece. This is probably the best one to show you on. There are a few, let's see if I can get a little better view. There are a few imperfections on it, which I knew. There's one right there in the sunlight. Got a few, nothing major. And overall, I'd say I'm very happy with it. So what I'm going to end up doing now, I'm going to start wet sanding and see if we can get these imperfections out. I'm going to use a couple of different grits of sandpaper, 2 and 3,000 grit, I think is what I've got. I'll have to check it before I actually do it. Wet sanding those, and then I've got some polishing compound that I'm going to put on it as well and try to buff it out to a little bit brighter shine than what even I've got now. And hopefully we're going to get the vast majority of the imperfections out. Truthfully, I'm pretty okay with it just like it is. Out here in the sun, I mean, you just got to get the perfect light on it to see them, especially because they're going to be sitting vertical, so they're going to be sitting more, you know, like this, and it's very, very hard to see that. So let's get it over to the garage. Let's get it in here and start wet sanding. See what comes up with. Hang tight. Well, that didn't turn out all that great. The wet sanding, I did start with the 2,000 grit, just like what it was over here. All right, 2,000 grit, wet sanded it. This is not the first thing I've wet sanded, okay? Just to be clear, it's not I don't call it a complete rookie mistake maybe, but it is the first time I've ever tried to wet sand epoxy. I'm sure there's a way to do it. Go find somebody else. I'm just telling you what happened with mine, and here's what it is. So, did it get imperfections out? Some, yeah. Maybe a little bit. But in comparison of two pieces, just put this one right here on top of it. See how much darker it is? How much shinier this one is, obviously, versus this. Now, we'll tell you this even. This is after polishing compound, 2,000 grit sandpaper, all that stuff. It's still this scuffed up. So, I was kind of teetering on the edge, truthfully, of going over these one more time. And the reason for it, this one I'm not really concerned with. This one's not as bad. And it looks pretty terrible in the picture, actually, now that I say that. But maybe it's this one. One of them doesn't look that bad. Yeah, it's that one. There we go. It's not too bad. This one, not so much. This one obviously had some imperfections in it, quite a bit. So I teetered back and forth over the edge of doing it one more time, letting it sit one more time, and just letting it go. And what I was going to do, because actually what I found was that foam brush that I used on coat number 2 actually worked a little better. I think it was a smoother finish on it. You just got to work fast. The foam brush gets a little flimsy. Just move, keep moving, and I actually feel like it did pretty good. So that's what I'm going to do on this one. So this will now be coat number 4. I'm going to leave it for yet another 2 days, and then it should be done and be complete. And whatever it comes out with on coat number 4, that is what you will see going on this boat. Okay, so I won't call it a total fail because it did smooth out some things. I will just say that I don't have the stuff to polish it here. So take it with a grain of salt. I don't want you to think that I did this entire thing and it comes out perfect on round number 1. I'm going to show you, just like anything else on my channel that I put out here, if it messes up, I would rather you know that it messes up, rather than do this and think, well, what the heck did that, how did that work on his and it didn't work on mine? No, that's not what I'm here for. So I hope you get a little something out of it. As far as the epoxy, like I said before, this is the Total Boat high performance epoxy, 2,000 grit sandpaper, wet sanding it, and that's what you came out with, just a little bit of a dull finish. So let's go back for coat number 4. Let's just finish this up, and then I will do a final recap video. So part 3 ended up being really, really short, the wet sanding and polishing, or I think it's part 3, I'm losing count, whatever part you're watching right now. Turned out to be a really short one because it didn't work, but that's okay. Move on, we'll get a coat number 4. So the next time you see any of these pieces, they will be coated and going on the boat as a final recap video for the whole process. So stay tuned. Part 4 or 5 or 12 or whatever it is, it's coming. It's almost done. Today is the day we're putting the panels back in the boat. Holy smokes, what a project this has been. If you've been following along, you kind of know a little bit of what's going on. It's the Skeeter ZX202C from the 98 model time frame. And we're just doing a little updates on the wiring of the boat. Anyway, go back and watch the videos, part 1, 2, 3, 4, and all, however many of them there are. Go back and watch them. I hope you've enjoyed them up to this point. Now let's see the end result, getting them all back together. If you saw the last video, you'll know that the wet sanding that I tried was a big time fail. And that's okay. I'm not worried about that because I had plenty of epoxy to go over it again. I kind of wanted to go over it again. I just really didn't want to wait, which was probably my mistake. I did it a little bit wrong on the second to last coat. But as I said in the last video, whatever it comes out looking like, that is just what it's going to be. So here's what it came out looking like. Not too bad. Got a pretty good shine to it. There's only one little hinky that'll come up right there. You see it right there in the light. And what it is, something dropped into is that little white speck. Other than that, that one looks pretty good. This panel here turned out really nice as well, as did this one. So I'm gonna start putting them back in the boat. It's time to put them back together, get the gauges set back in them, mounted back in them, and wire this dude back up for good and hopefully be completely done with it. So like I said, I've hoped that you've enjoyed something out of this video series. If nothing else, I hope you've enjoyed watching me mess up a couple of different ways. So stay tuned, check out some other videos on the channel if you haven't already. Feel free to like them and to just pass them on to somebody else that you might know that may also enjoy them. Let's put it back together. I'm kind of excited. They look pretty good for my skill set. I'll call it that. I think it turned out all right. So let's do it. Stay tuned. Let's put a boat back together. All right, here it is. It's done. It's in. I won't say it's done. It's in. And here's what we got for the final product here. So get a shipper band out of the way. There we go. Look a little nicer. Remember, up under this one is that WD-40 can. Turn them on, everything lights up nice and pretty. Everything is wired up, hooked up. I just got to do some labels. I'm truthfully probably going to have my wife do these on the little Cricut machine inside and make them a little prettier than what they came with from the factory. And also because this is a left aerator pump, however you say that. Left live well, how about that? And a right live well. And there was only one per in the little manual, so I don't really care to do that. And then left and right bilge, these two are spares. That's the courtesy light that's inside the boat, and then these are the nav lights on the outside. So overall it came out pretty nice. And if you remember, the one thing that I'd done that was going to be having these sit out a little bit, the only issue that has come up with this that I've got to fix is going to be, turn that off, you can see on the back side of this, on the blue. So all I'm gonna do, they're not actually wired yet. There we go. So I'm gonna take these and tape them off, get them to where there's no paint coming on here. And I'm just gonna put a little bead of black spray paint on the back of them just to make them not shine. You can barely see it from there. You can actually see it a little better from the driver's position. What you're seeing right there is the reflection. It's actually glaring up a little worse than I wanted, but overall it turned out really nice. The last thing I'm going to do is take some trim restorer on all of this, make this all nice and jet black and beautiful, and that should be it. But it's done. I hope you've enjoyed everything. The only other thing I will mention, there's two little hang-ups on it just to be very careful with. One is a little scratchy, see it right there. Whenever I was and there's a little one on that outside. When I was re-drilling this hole, because the epoxy made it a little tighter, obviously. Re-drilling that hole out, it was with a 3/4 inch paddle bit, and you had to kind of ream the hole out a little. Whenever I did that, the paddle bit jumped off, and I couldn't catch it in time, so there's a little scuff there. And then on the bottom, which is apparently going to be kind of hard to show you, it's right there and right there. two little scuffs here, and that is strictly from whenever I was wiring this up. This has a little aluminum housing on it. I'm assuming it's aluminum. Metal, well, that metal housing on this. While I was wiring it up, it just sat there and kind of just chipped a little. But overall, it turned out really nice. The one little hinky spot that I showed you earlier is right there. Kind of out of sight, out of mind. It's on the bottom. That's it. So don't be intimidated by the whole project. It is a time-consuming project, but it's not overwhelming. Okay, so hope you liked it. See you on the next one. Take care.